The pasuk says, "Hine anochi sheleach malach lefanecha." What is this malach going to do? Lishmorcha b'derech, he will watch you. V'laviacha el amokoim asher achinoisi, and he'll bring you to the place that I prepared. But you better be careful with him, because he shamar mipanav v'shma b'koiloi, and al tamer boy, don't rebel. Ki lo yisod v'shachem kishmi b'kirboy. And Rashi says there's two reasons why a malach that I set up for you won't be moichli. First of all, is because he doesn't relate to Averis. He's a malach. So he won't understand you. So he's not going to have any mercy. He's like a yekish, I got a job to do. This is my job. My job doesn't include mechila. My job says if you behave, I help you. If not, I destroy you. So there's no room for any type of begging or pleading or discretion. He doesn't have any discretion. Your Rebbeinu has discretion. But since you're going to be dealing with a malach, you're not going to have the benefit of that discretion. But if you listen to him, it'll be good. Then but it says vasisa koila sheradaber. What does it mean vasisa koila sheradaber? Vasisa means beloshin yochid. It's as if the Torah is talking to an individual, right? Vasisa is koila sheradaber. Then what will the malach do for you? Nothing fabulous. He'll just make the people who try to bother you his enemy, and the person who make you tzarus, he'll make tzarus for them. But he's not going to give you prenasa, and he's not going to give you gezind, and he's not going to give you nishanachas. He's not going to do all that stuff. He'll just do the bare minimum, and he'll sustain you. I actually have it written down here, so I want to actually learn it inside. Let me see if I should have it over here. Some sofer. Okay, here, gewaltig. So then the pasuk goes weiter and says, "Ki yelech malachi lefanecha v'yivacha la'amori v'achidi v'apidi v'chnani v'achidi v'yusu v'chagad." Lo yishtachah v'lo lehem v'lo yisavdim v'lo yisasek k'maseim ki haris ta'arsem v'shabbos matzay v'seim. Then the pasuk suddenly switches to a lashon rabbim. V'avadtem es Hashem Elokeichem. Doesn't have avadita like vasisa before. It's suddenly plural, speaking to all of Klal Yisrael. V'avadtem es Hashem Elokeichem, and then suddenly you have a lot better than just v'ahavti yisavecha v'tzayis harecha. Then you have averes lachmna, that's pardosa, that's shalom bayis, that's meimecha, v'asiroisi machal mikabecha. I'm going to make sure you have nothing. You have nothing difficult. You have no challenges, no problems. Everything's going to go smooth sailing, like cruising down the hill. Yeah. So let's have a look at what some sofer says. Oh, I have a glare. Let me see if I can get rid of the glare. This is not the one that I'm looking for. This one here. I can't avoid the glare. I apologize. Kim shemaya tishma bekoiloi v'sisa kol asher adaber v'yapte shevecha v'tzarti tzarecha ki yelech malachi lefanecha. Yesh la'ayin the bechan nemar hakoil b'loshin yochid ulekamon b'pasuk hasheni masel b'loshin rabbim v'avadetem es Hashem Elokeichem v'chazer loymar b'loshin yochid. Oh, then it goes back to loshin yochid. See, I missed a very important part of it, and then it switches back to uverches lachmecha. Not uverachti is lachmechem, so it switches back to a yochid. What's going on? Uverches lachmecha, v'es memecha, v'oid maimer v'asiroisi machlo mikerbecha kimidaber ba'adoy yisem mishbarach. That v'asiroisi machlo mikerbecha sounds like it's talking about your Rebbeinu Shalom. Uleil amar ki yelech malachi lefanecha. So who is talking? Is it the malach that's going to do all this, or is it Hashem's going to do all this? It seems to be switching back between if the malach is doing it or if Hashem is doing it. It's switching back from lachem rabbim to loshin yochid. V'yesh loymar ki chiluk v'hefresh gadol yesh bein avodas Hashem anasis l'kol yochid b'fnei atzmai b'veisai. There's a massive difference between avodas Hashem that people do by themselves in their home, uvein anasa b'yischabros, and between people who get together as a group to do mitzvahs. Sheyidabru yirei Hashem isha re'eu. Is it yidabru or yidabku? I can't even tell. Let me look. Yidabru. If people are talking to each other, isha re'eu, v'yasu lazu chevra, and they create a group, uchedoima, which is exactly what we do here. Ki afilu u'miyu kol Yisrael kulam tzadikim v'shoymim ha'Torah elo she'einenu b'chevra even if everyone individually is doing 100%, but they're not doing it together, that one person will strengthen the other, then Ozai ein Shimirasam Vanagosam Ella al Yidei Malach Hachoyne Soviv Liyirav V'yichaltzem Ritzoynoi L'chaltzem Mitzar. So if you're doing it as a Yachud, that's V'asisa. If you're doing good things, and even if everybody in Klal Yisrael is doing good things, but they're doing it individually, you're only Zoicha to Shmira al Yidei the Malach, which is very limited in what he could do for you. He can keep you away from tzaras. A Malach doesn't have the ability to add bracha. Ki ein b'koyach Malach Hashem lasois beis min shlichus. Remember, a Malach cannot multitask. He could only do one thing, and he's told to protect them from enemies. So that's all he could do. The Malach that came to save Lot from Shadoim wasn't able to tell Sarah about her child. They don't know how to multitask. When Klal Yisrael gets together, even if the quality of their avodah is inferior to avodah that's done by a yachid, mikol makom hein keil kabir lo yimas. The Rebbeinu Shloim, the great Rebbeinu Shloim, will not be yimas from this avodah. He loves this type of avodah. Now HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets personally involved. Manhigam the oz b'chol makom asher asker eshemi avoy elechu v'yachticha v'yeshkan. I love this now. Refuah, this sounds like the Kaddish Yosim of a Svardi. You know, you go, they're very generous with their brachas. Yeshkan refuah, v'hatala, uberacha, v'chul bay. V'loy levad, v'mashgiach ala klal b'ashkocha klolius. It's not just a general ashkocha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at us as a group to protect us, but it's lachmecha, right? Everything is Lashon Yochid, the Rebbeinu Shalom does. Elafilu al kol. Oh, this thing's in the way over here. El afilu. Now I got lost of place. El afilu al kol yochid v'yochid mehem b'ashkocha protius. It's almost counterintuitive. If you work individually, then you don't get ashkocha protius. It's just a general bracha. But if you work together, HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks to each individual person and sees what they need and makes their life a ganei. V'zeh she'amar b'tchila ki im shemoya tishma b'koiloi is b'loshen yochid. Afilu she'yizeh Kol Yisrael, even if all of Klal Yisrael, but individually. Rak shekol yochid b'fnei atzma yishma b'koiloi v'lo yischabru zelzeh. Then lo yiyah kiyim v'yafti yisayevecha v'suloi. You'll be protected. V'atam ki malachi yelech levanecha. Who ain't the koichoi lasos yosher? He can't do more. But aval va'avadetem es Hashem alekechem b'tzibur. That unleashes an unbelievable force. The chaburus mitzvah. Then Hashem says, I'm coming by myself, elecha to do to you, uverachticha. I can't do. Vasiroisi, machli mikabecha, loisi meshakela, uchagav the kalav. So basically, the power of working together unleashes the Rebbeinu Shalom's personal attention to focus on each one of us individually, whatever we need will have. So the Rebbeinu Shalom should help in this chus. The Rebbeinu Shalom should look at us individually. Rebbe Hashem knows what we need and what we want, and we should get all of it.
Just learning on Zoom considered chabura?
Oh, I just lost you.
No, we got you.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody hear me? Can you give a thumbs up? You hear me? Could you talk?
I'm talking.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me see if I have an issue with my audio. Let me just do a quick test on my audio. Yeah, something happened here. So let me set this up. Yeah, something. Here. Something's wrong with my thing. I'm going to have to reset it. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you
Oh,
hear
no, I
up.
can't hear you again. For a second I heard, and now I stopped hearing. Let me try this again. This is not good. Okay, now I think I can hear you. Can someone speak?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, now I hear you. Okay, geweldig. Okay.
I was asking, do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Is learning on Zoom considered a chabura?
Avada.
No, you gotta come to, if you're in Toronto, it's not.
Avada Zoom counts.
So with time, I have a kasha.
Because it says Gam Zoom Latoiva. Zoom is also good.
I have a kasha on the Simply Pshat.
This is not the forum for it.
Why? I'm advertising your safer.
I know.
Oh, kasha's on. Oh, he's left with a kasha also on this portion. Anyways.
Okay, Zok the Heilige Mishnah. Hamesis. Hamesis we learned in the list of people who get skila. He's right there in that list. He made it. Hamesis zehedit. It doesn't mean a novi who was trying to convince someone to do a avodah zarah. It means a regular citizen. A novi, Rashi says, avol novi shehesis eina beskila ela bechenek kidem afarish begemara. The Gemara is going to tell us that a novi gets a downgraded misa, he gets chenek. So that's halacha number one. And then v'amesis esahedit. Now this mesis esahedit is not lafuka novi. If the person who became influenced is a novi or a regular person, it doesn't matter. It means hedjit means an individual, lafuke a rabbin. Because if you're mesis, an individual, you're chayiv skila. But if you're mesis a rabbin, so we learn that a mediach gets chenek or hereg, depending on who you learn like. Our mission is going with our Gemara is going with the approach that it's chenek.
But it's not amazing anymore.
Correct. Omar, what would the Mesis have said? He said, Yesh Yira b'makom ploini, there's a getchke in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Oh, you got to see this getchke. Kach lecheles, oh, it eats mamish like a prince. Kach shoyse, oh, it drinks like a chazer, like a goy. Kach metiva, if you serve it, oh, the toivis that you're going to get from it, it's unbelievable. Kach Maria, if you don't listen to it, it's not going to be so exciting for you. People who don't want to support this avodah zarah, they have gedoy setzudas. So those are arguments that a mesis might say to convince somebody to do avodah zarah. Kol chai v'misa shabbatayra. Before we go on, I just want to throw out a question, because we had a little bit of a discussion about this, and I don't know if we got clarity in it. In order for a mesis to be a mesis, does he have to succeed? What if he does whatever he needs to do to try to convince me to do avodah zarah, but I don't buy it? Does he still get skila, or only if he succeeds? So that's a question that we're going to try to resolve today, although it seems to be a big machlokes rishonim. So let's have a look and see that the person went and did avodah zarah, or the person said, "I'll go do avodah zarah." So that is the question. So we're going to discuss this right now. Kol chai v'misu shabbatayra.
By the way, does it have to be Aiden for this?
Yes.
It has to be.
Yeah. And the Mishnah actually is going to be discussing exactly how it works. Kol chai v'misu shabbatayra. Any person who's chai v'misu in the Torah, ein machmin alayim. You never try to get them with a gotcha moment. You'll always give him hasra. So to the contrary, you do everything you could to help them avoid getting killed. But a mesis, it says loy sachmoil, v'loy sechasa Allah. It doesn't say v'shaftu eida v'tzilu eida. It says you got to get him. No mercy. Find a way to get him. So machminim Rashi says is miloshain v'orev, because the Targum word for v'orev means to ambush is machmin. So you try to catch him. So all the mises in the Torah, you don't do that. Hutz mizu. For instance, this is how you would do it. Omar l'shnayim. What if this mesis approached two people and gave him the speech above? Right off the bat, hein edav, they could be his edav. Umavi noisel bezin, they can drag him to bezin. V'cycling noisai. It almost sounds like they don't even do a regular due process. Remember, we learned how complicated it is to get everything. It seems like they streamlined the process to get this guy killed. But let's stop a second. If he said this to two Adam to try to convince them, and they took him to Bezdin, obviously they weren't convinced, yet they still kill him. So this is our first clue. It seems that even if they don't succeed in convincing him, the Maces will still get killed.
Yossi, if you read the whole parsha in the Chumash, it seems like they don't have to convince him. It's just the whole track. You don't listen to him. You're the first ones to kill him. Like, it doesn't say anywhere that anybody ever heard them. Right. It's mashma that starts telling you not to listen to them, and then you go kill them.
I think that's what we're going to come out with when we finish the mission as well. Okay. So it's a good sign if the Mishnah stems with the pasuk. It's always a good sign. Okay. Zok to Gemara. Amar la'echad. What if he only told one person? You need to aid him. So how is this one person going to trap this guy into saying this in front of two Adam? So who Aimer, you know what he could tell him? Yesh li chaverim, you know, you're saying so good. This is such an opportunity to do a avodah. I love it. Could you please speak to my friends? Because I think we can really make a movement over here. Right? Yesh li chaverim roitzim bekach. I have friends who want to hear. If he was a clever guy, he won't walk into their trap. And he doesn't want to say, he says, I'm only going to speak one-on-one here. I know Bezdin could kill me. I'm not taking any chances. I'm only willing to speak one-on-one. So they still try to trap him. So what do? They put Adam in a place where he won't see the Adam, but they'll be able to see him, and he won't know about it. But who Aimer Loi, and then the individual will say, tell me over again. I want to hear again. I loved what you said. Tell me again. So he'll go through his speech again, not knowing that there's Adam on the other side of the gather. He'll tell him, and then he responds. So now we just learned a new step over here. And he responds, how dare you suggest that we abandon the Rebbeinu Shalom and we serve stones and wood? That doesn't make any sense. So in Chayzer boy, if at that point the Mason says, okay, I'm sorry, I take it back, Harei Zamutav, they don't kill him. But if he's adamant with his argument, doesn't it the mutter is hachiv mimuzaston, right? It macht for a mitzvah. That's the best thing for us. So then they jump up and say, gotcha. So here it's clear as day that even if they don't succeed, right? Even if he doesn't succeed, he will get skila. The difficulty is the next line in the Mishnah. If someone says, now we need to understand who is talking over here. Evoid, I'm going to do avodah zarah. I'm going to travel to do avodah zarah, meaning even though there's some obstacles because the avodah zarah is not here right now, I have to travel there. Or nelech v'navoid, or we're going to go together with a group. And Shlomi just came back from a trip. He knows how hard it is to get everybody in the group to be masked to go. It's not so easy, right? And the same thing, Ezbach, Elech, Ezbach, Nelech, V'nizbach, or actor, Elech, V'actor, Nelech, V'nactor, or a Nasek, Elech, V'nasek, Nelech, V'nasek, or a Shtachava, Elech, V'shtachava, Nelech, V'nashtachava. So now the question is, who said this? Is this the Maces talking, or is this the Nisus talking? And telling us that unless the Nisus succumbs, it's not called Maces. And that won't fit in with the Mishnah before. So let's look at Rashi. Rashi gives us a clue. So reading the words of Rashi, it's mashma that this is what the Maces has to say, right? Which won't be such a contradiction, even though it's suddenly changing from what it said before, right? And it also seems to say if he says this, he's chayiv right away, and you don't give him an option to back out, like we just said a moment ago that you do. So the Marsha comments on Rashi, and not everybody agrees with the Marsha, but the Marsha says there's two things here. If he's confronted, so let's say he does not succeed in convincing them. He does not succeed in convincing the Nisas. And they tell him, how dare you say that to us? Right? Then he gets a second chance. And if he backs down, he will not get killed. But if he immediately succeeds in convincing them to do avodah zarah, and the Nisus responded by saying avoid elech, then he doesn't have a chance to back out of him. Then he's toast. So it's a two-stage process. If they accept right away, he is condemned automatically. If they don't accept right away, then he still has a second chance to back out. Now, it still doesn't fit so good with the Lashon, but the way the Marshal learns is if the Nisus responds saying that I'm going to do it, then have a Mesis v'chayiv, automatically he's a Mesis and he's chayiv, and he no longer has the opportunity to retract. So that's how the Marshal, but that's not the only pshat. There's other discussions over here. But at least now we sort of have clarity that a Mesis, sometimes he doesn't have a second chance, and that if he's successful, and if he's not successful, then he gets a second chance. Zok Tehillah Gemara. Hamesis zehedit. The Mishnah says Hamesis zehedit, and the dik that we can make is time of the hedit. The only reason why he gets skila is because he's a hedit. Hanavi, if he was a navi, then bechenek he would get chen. Now this is actually a machlokes tanoim. Rab Shimon holds that a navi gets chenek, but the Rabbanan hold that a navi gets skila. So this dik that we just made for the Mishnah would prove that our Mishnah is going according to Rab Shimon. Pretty simple. Next line in the Mishnah, the mesis as a hedit. Again, time of the yachid. That's only if he's being mesis one person. Harabim, if he's being mesis multiple people, he's bechenek. Now I'm a little bit confused here because the Mishnah specifically said that if he convinces two people or he tries to convince two people, they got him. So that's probably not a rab. Maybe a rab means three, because two clearly will kill him because of mesis. The Mishnah says so befeirs. So maybe the rab means three. Then it'll be bechenek. Again, that's another deal we can make from Mishnah. That's also machlokes tanoim. You're talking about Adam, but we're talking about what makes him a mediach over a mesis.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So the question here is we're making a deal that Rabban gets chenek, but that's a machlokes tanoim. Rab Shimon holds Rabban gets chenek. The Rabbanim will soon argue and say Rabban also gets skila. So Zok Gemara Masnis and Mani Rab Shimoni. For two reasons, our mission is going according to Rab Shimon, because both these two issues that we discussed corresponds with Rab Shimon's psak and not with Rabbanim. The Tanya Novi Shehidiach is Beskila. So you see that even a Novi gets skila. That wouldn't stem with what we just were medaik from our Mishnah. But Rab Shimon and Reb Chenek, and that's exactly how we were medaik from our Mishnah. Then Medicha Irani Dachas is Beskila. Again, that's not consistent with our Mishnah, but Rab Shimon and Reb Chenek, which is consistent. Zok Gemara, Ema Seifa. So now that we established that the Mishnah that we just learned follows the Shita of Rab Shimon and not the Shita of the Rabbanon, let's go to the next Mishnah that we're about to learn. The next Mishnah that we're about to learn says the following: Hamadiach zeh ha'omer neilech v'navoid avodas kecha. A Mediach is someone who tells a rabbim, let's go do avodas zarah. And Rabbi Yehuda Amarav commented on this Mishnah that Medicha ir hanidachas shanu. You know what our Mishnah is talking about? Our Mishnah is talking about Medicha ir hanidachas. Now, the next Mishnah is also listing people who are chayiv skila. The problem is we just showed you that Reb Shimon holds that a Medicha ir hanidachas would be chayiv chenek, not skila. It's only the Rabbanon who holds skila. But we just said the Mishnah that we just learned is going according to Reb Shimon, and now the next Mishnah suddenly is switching over to the Rabbanon. Also no Rabbanon. Reishi Rab Shimon, the Sefer Rabbanon. Zok Gemara Ravina Amar Kula Rabbanon. Really, we could learn that both Mishnayos follow the Shita of the Rabbanon. Now, we had two kashas, right? So the way Rashi learns, Tosfos doesn't learn this way, but the way Rashi learns is that Ravina is going to answer one kasha, and Rav Papa is going to answer the other kasha. So Ravina is actually going to answer the second kasha. The second kasha is, our Mishnah seems to say that if you're mesis as a rabbim, you get chenek. Yet the next Mishnah seems to say if you're mesis as a rabbim, you get skila. I'm really using the wrong word. It's mediach, right, for the public. So Zokmer Ravina Amar Kula Rabbanim. Really, it's all the Rabbanim. But v'loishu avsukatani. All the Rabbanim mean to say is not only don't make a diak that dafka yochid gets skila and not a rabbim. No, say the first Mishnah says a yochid gets skila. If you're mediach, if you're mesis a yochid, you get skila. And the second Mishnah, not only that, even if you're Mediach Harab, you get skila. So don't make the dik at all. So that takes care of the first problem. But we still have the second problem of does a Novi get skila or chenek? Rav Papa Amar really everybody holds that a Navi gets skila. So Kikatani, Meses Zehedit, all the Mishnah means to imply when the Mishnah says a Meses is a Hedit is lehachmana, is to tell us that no matter what, we try to trap them and we don't give them a warning. The Tanya we learned, the Shar Kol Chai V'Misa Shabbatayra, Ein Machminin Alayin, Chutz Mizu. Now, this is a brisa that says no matter who it is, whether it's a Navi, whether it's not a Navi, you'll always try to chap them. Ketzad, so this brisa describes a different way to do it, although our Mishnah gave us good ways to do it. Oisin loy, Ketzad oisin loy, what do? Imagine there's two rooms, but you go through one room till you get to the next room. So we'll call it the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kadoshim, right? Madlikanes and there, beveis hapnimi. You light a fire, a light. You turn on the light. The Beit Kodesh Hakadoshim. Umashivin loy edim beveis hachitzon, and the edim stay in the Kodesh. So that the edim can see what's going on in the Kodesh Hakadoshim because the light's on, but the person in the Kodesh Kadoshim can't see what's going on in the Kodesh because the light's off. Kadeshi yuha ein roi noisai v'shaymin eskailai. They can hear him, but he can't hear them. You know why he can't hear them? Because they're not going to open their big fat mouths. They're going to be quiet because they want to trap him. And now the fellow who this guy's trying to convince tells the guy, tell me again. And then then the Edim pop up, they open the lights and say, surprise! Let's just learn, I just want to learn the Rashi Loizu Afsu Katani, who it describes in greater detail what the teretz of Ravina was and what the teretz of Rav Papa was. If you have the question, listening meses es harabim, listening meses es hayachid, why did the first Mishnah, say dafka meses es hayachid? It should have even said meses es harabim. Da pshita, the kulu moidu bab the beskila. Everybody agrees that meses es hayachid is beskila. The discussion really is only by meses es harabim. Zok to Gemara or Rashi urcha latana lemisniyachi. It's normal. It's a normal way for a tana to express things with the loizu afsu system. Tana milsa bereisha the pshitale, v'had the tana rabusa. First it says something simple, and then the tana says, and you know what? This also applies by a rabbim. V'loizu the meses yachid bilvad b'skila, ela avsu the meses rabbim b'skila, which is what the tana says in the next Mishnah. Udaloik Rab Shimon, and it wouldn't be consistent with Rab Shimon, rather it would be consistent with the Rabbanon. For a papa also af l'trutze l'dekatani hameses a hedit, and not a novi. So Zok Rab Papa, it doesn't mean to exclude a novi. Lav l'mute novi hameses katani, because in fact the novi would also get skila. Ela kol hamasisin kori hedjoitas. We consider all masisim hedjoitas. You know why? Mishum achmona, because we trap them. Kleber meses hedit v'shoitahu. Anybody who tries to be a Meses, even though he's a Navi, he's an idiot. And therefore we treat him like an idiot. We don't respect his life. We trap him and we get him to become guilty and we kill him because we don't want such people. Normally trichin asra, but this fool, this hedjit, whether he's a Navi or not, him we're going to trap and try to kill. Okay, Gavalti. So now we have done this sugya, now we're on to the next. Hamadiach. And we already discussed this Mishnah at length just a moment ago. Hamachashiv, what about somebody who does kishif? If you actually do a maisa kishif, that's where there is a chiv skila. But sometimes people can make a rabbit pop out of a hat, but he's not creating a rabbit. If he creates a rabbit, that's kishav is chayiv skila. But if he just pulled a rabbit out of a hat and it looked like it popped out of a hat, but it really was hiding underneath a shmata up until now, that's oiches of einayim. It's not a mitzvah, but there's no chayiv skila for it. Rabbi Kiva Omer mishum Rabbi Yeshua shnayim loikin tishuin. It's possible for two people to start off with a field full of gourds, and suddenly it looked like all the gourds were harvested. Echad loikit potter. One of the persons who did this, and he did it through Kishiv, of course, will be potter. V'echad like it chayiv. Ha'oisem ma'isa chayiv. The guy who used Kishiv to actually harvest the field, he'll be chayiv. He did a ma'isa with Kishiv. Ha'oichez is hanayim potter. But the guy who only made it look like it was harvested, but it really wasn't, he is going to be potter. Okay, Gavalti. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav, Medicha ir nidacha shonukan, and we discussed that at length just a couple of minutes ago. Now we're going to get into Kishiv. This is a little bit of a fun Gemara. Hamachashev zeh ha'oisem ma'isa. Tanu Rabban. It says mechashefa loisechaya. Yet the Brisa tells us that it doesn't only apply to a woman. It's echad ha'ish ve'echad ha'isha. Frek the Gemara imkain, or the Brisa asks, "Ma tamad lo mechashefa?" If it's equally prohibited to a man as it is to a woman, so why should they make a shefa?
You highlighted Rashi.
That's right. And the Rashi was just referring to this Gemara. I touched it wrong. I touched it that most magicians are women. That's not what the Gemara says. It says most women are exposed to kishiv. Somehow women are exposed to kishiv. I guess the women do a lot of kishiv. So most women have been exposed to kishiv at one time or another. Misasan b'ma. What is the oynish for someone who does?
Maybe because women are gullible.
Okay, I didn't.
I can't see it. It's on the recording.
I mean, it's very possible that someone's wife is listening, so we have to be careful what we say.
His wife certainly isn't in the room.
This is not being recorded, I hope.
It sure is.
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
That's right. And you have to understand, it doesn't need to be recorded because your wife will remember this for the rest of your life anyway. Never can mechashefa loisechaya. V'nemer lehalom, and it says when Klal Yisrael was commanded to kill the Zayin Amamin, loisechaya kol neshama. Malalon b'sayim. Just like when it said loisechaya, how do you kill goyim? With a sword. Afkan, when it talks about a mechashefa, when it uses the same word loisechaya, b'sayim, it means you kill her with a knife. Rabbi Kiva Aimer, no, it's skila. Nemer kan mechashefa loisechaya. But nemer lahalom by the Seres Adibrais, by the Maimon Har Sinai, in Behema Emish lo yichye. There it meant skila. Ma lalon b'skila, avkan b'skila. So Amalei Rabbi Yossi told Rabbi Kiva, my limud is better than your limud because my limud matches. Ani danti from loisechaya and loisechaya. You picked a dissimilar word. V'yata danta loisechaya milo yichye. Amalei Rabbi Kiva, my limud is better. Because Ani Danti Yisrael mi Yisrael. I learned about a Chiyav Misa that a Yid has from another Chiyav Misa that a Yid has. Why? Sheriba behen akos of Misa's harbe. By Yidden, there's 4 different Misas that someone could have. So there you need specificity to know which one it is. So it makes sense that we should learn a Yid from a Yid. You want to learn from a goy is a whole different kettle of fish. By a goy there is only one misa, and that is sayif. We do know that there are some exceptions. If a goy is mezana with a naira hamurasa, which is not recognized by goyim as a rayis, he gets skila. We've had it right. Nemar mechashefa loisechaya. The nemar in the very next pasuk. Kol shechev in behema moishumos. We had this earlier in the Masechta. Samchu inyan loy. It's actually a hekish because we have 2 psukim that are side by side or back to back. Ma shechev in behema beskila, af mechashev beskila. That's why I know skila. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda says I don't understand. V'chim epnei shesamchu inyan loy. Because you found 2 psukim together, you're going to give somebody skila. You know, you don't look to give somebody such a severe misa. Because you found 2 psukim together that you're going to kill somebody, that's not a good limud. I'll tell you the right limud. Now, we say every day in Karbonis, Kol davar shahoya b'chlal, v'yotzim min ha'chlal alamed, loy l'lamed al atzmo yotza, ela l'lamed al ha'chlal kula yotza. If something's in a klal, then the Torah talks about it specifically, whatever the Torah tells you about that specifically applies to the whole klal that it was itemized from. And that's what we have over here. Zok the Heilige Gemara. It says that includes every type of kishuv, even Oiv Yedoni. Yet the Torah talked about Oiv Yedoni specifically. Why did the Torah specifically talk about Oiv Yedoni, where we know skilo? The Torah says skilo over there. It must be lahakesh alein v'loymala. Ma Oiv Yedoni b'skila af mechashev b'skila. So Oiv Yedoni were yatzum and aklal, not just l'lamed al atzma that they get skila, because the Torah says befer skila by Oiv Yedoni, and l'lamed al klal kula yatza to tell the entire klal of mechashefos, their misa is b'skila. That's right. That was a good point. I was thinking the same thing. Dr. Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Nami. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you shouldn't be able to learn from Oiv Yedoni. Why? Because lehava Oiv Yedoni shnei ksuvim habam keechad, and we know there's a rule. Whenever the Torah could have just listed one and lists two, it's obviously a signal that it only applies to those two. V'chol shnei ksuvim habam keechad ein melamdin. Amar Rabbi Zechariah ad Amar. You know what you see from here? That Kasavar Rabbi Yehuda shnei ksuvim habam keechad melamdin. So Rashi tells us this is good to know, because all over Shas we always find the Gemara says it's next to above Gechday Melandin. Prekmar Bish Tam Lamanda Melandin. Good. El Lamanda Amar Melandin Kasha. Right? Who's that guy? Now we know who it is. It's Rabbi Yehuda. So Rashi, now you'll know whenever you run into this anywhere over Shas, you could say, I know who that is. It's Rabbi Yehuda. So you can dazzle your friends by telling them, I remember it. It's Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, Zakti more weiter. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Lama Nikra Shimon Kishafim. Why is Kishav called Kishav? Because it contradicts Pamalu Shamayla. Actually, I wasn't sure if Makhishan means contradict or if it means to weaken, but the ArtScroll teaches it as contradicts. So I'm not going to stand up to the ArtScroll. Okay, but it says Ein Oid Milvadoi. Ein Oid Milvadoi Amar Bchanina Afilu L'Dvar Kshaf. So let's look what this means. Afilu Kshafim Ein Bahen Koyach L'Fnei Gzeiros. You can actually learn this both ways, and maybe there's not a difference. The ArtScroll teaches it, Ein Bahen Koyach L'Fnei Gzeiros. If it comes up against the Gzeir of Hashem, it can't overrule the Gzeir of Hashem. Shein Koyach Milvadoi. Or you can learn, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu put it into the Bria that Kishav should work, Kishav wouldn't have worked. So it's one and the same. If Baal Kishav only has its power to work because the Rebbeinu Shloim made it work, naturally it won't be able to overrule the Rebbeinu Shloim. So Dudi Samuel told me a fascinating thing. He said, Ein Oid Milvadoi, the first letter of each of these words, Aleph, Ayin, Mem, represents the Shem Hashem that challenges Kishav. It's such a name. Zok Dudi, we know that there was a lot of Kishav in Mitzrayim, and Rebbeinu Shloim had to overcome all that Kishav and destroy their Getchkes to get us out of Mitzrayim. So he says the bracha of Al Achilas Matzah and Al Achilas Mor are Ayin, Aleph, Mem. So it's part of there's so many Ramozim and Kabbalah Zach in the Seder, but it's that Shem Hashem that neutralizes Kishav.
This is Aleph Ayin Mem.
So it's not an order, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Amar Bchanina. Afilu L'Divrei Kshaf. So now we have some interesting stories. Hahi Itza Dahavas Kamahadra Lemishkal Afra Mituse carried Rab Chanina. There was a woman who wanted to get earth from under Rab Chanina's feet because that earth will allow her to do some type of kishav spell upon him. Amrle, he told her, you want it? No problem. Imistayis Zilavidi. If you think you can do something with it, Gag is into height. I'm not worried. You know why? Ain't no Movadik. Frankly, more, how could you say that? Eini v'amar Rabbi Yochanan lama nikra shmon mechashvim shemachishin pamali shamayla. So obviously they'll be able to do it, even though you don't want. The Gemara shiny Rab Chanina the nafis chusei. He at such chusim he was able to rely fully on the ein oid mulvade, as Rashi says, umasri nafshe mishamayla tzula. He knew that they're going to save him from shemayim. So everybody asked me, I ain't saying al neis. Are you not allowed to put yourself into a makom sakana? I don't know the answer to that, but I guess Reb Chanina held that since I'm such a maimin b'Shem, these things won't have a tfis on me. I believe it was known that Reb Chaim during the Holocaust, whenever he was traveling and he was worried about getting caught, when he went to the border, he always said, Einad Movadoi, Einad Movadoi. And sometimes he just drove right through places where they should have caught him and no one noticed him. So I know a lot of people that use this when they go through the border. They say, you know, they say, try with a Moshe, I need Mavada. They wrote a whole book at the customs guy, and the customs guy says, this guy's nuts, just go. What's that? Everyone tries different things. Okay, Zok more weiter. Amar Rab Ivai Bar Nagri, Amar Rab Chia Bar Abba. Now, in the parsha that talks about the Makkos, I guess in the Era and Boy, there's different words used when the Khartoumim were not able to copy the Moifsim. So I'm just going to look at two psukim. One pasuk says Vayasu Kein Khartoumim Mitzrayim B'Latayim. I think this is by the snakes. Vayechzek Le'Par V'Lasham Aleim Kasher Dibar Hashem. Meyer will correct me, but I think it's about snakes. And then it says Vayikor Gam Pari L'Chachamim V'Lamachashim Vayashu Gemhem Khartoumim Mitzrayim B'Lahatayim. So that's a different thing. So sometimes it's latte without the hay. So sometimes it's a latte without the hay, and sometimes it's a latte with the hay. So the question is, what do these two things mean? Zok to Gemara, there were two types of kishiv, as we would call them. The latte without the hay, they're not really doing kishiv. They're getting the shadim to do things for them. They're commissioning the shadim to do work for them. The lahatayim, they're doing it. It's their power that's doing it. This was the spinning sword that didn't let anybody get into Kaneit. So Rashi Avadi, that wasn't Kishiv. But it's called Lahat because it's something that's happening by itself and it could look like Kishiv. But Avada, it wasn't Shadim that was doing that sword. Amar Abaya, you know how you could tell if it's Kishiv or it's just commissioning the Shadim? The Kapar Amona Shade. If you need a specific type of Keli to make it work, you know he's not really a kishiv macher. He's talking about grabah maritz. He's only getting the shadim to help. And Rashi gives examples of what that means. Misha makbid ala kli, she'ene yochalasis davar beloy kli aroi loy shadavar. Unless he can get a specific keli, his magic won't work. Could go in surei boyhen. I don't know what that is. The masters of the thumb. I guess the professional hitchhikers. Shetzrichin sakin shekatay shocher. They say, I only can do this magic if you get me a knife with a black handle. Or visare kois, shetzrichin koishos chuchas, they won't be able to do any magic unless they have koishos chuchas, so they're really fake magicians. They just use the shadim to do it. But the loikabaramon, if they can just do things on their own, kshafim, that's the real deal. Amar Abaye, hilchas kshafim, hilchas Shabbos. The same categories that you have related to Hilchas Shabbos, you also have related to Kshafim. Yeshven beskila, a malacha da'iraisa, you get skila on. So too, a malacha, a real kishiv, you get skila. The Yeshven pater of a loser. There are those who are only osher with their body mishum shvus, so it's osher to do them. But if one does them, there's no oynish. The Yeshven mutal lechatchila, and there are things that are mutal lechatchila. So Rashi tells us what these things are in related to Shabbos. So let's look. Hilchas Shabbos. The malacha is beskila. A malacha derais is beskila. Ushavus pater avaloser. But there are certain things that are mutter and ganzen. For instance, seidas tzivi v'tzipor. Of course, you're not allowed to capture animals. But what if you were holding a big cape? You were wearing a big cape, and your arms happened to be spread out, and a bird fly right onto you, and now there's a bird in your cape. You don't have to let it out. So v'tzeidas tzivi v'tzipor shenechneses lo'itakas k'nafa. Yoshev Mishamar, he can just sit there in his cape and wait until after Shabbos, and then he can have that bird. There's no issue there of capturing. Or Mapis Mursa, busting a pus pimple. The issue would be you're making a Pesach, you're making an opening. But if you're busting the pimple, you're not interested in making an opening. You're interested in getting rid of the pain, getting the pus out. So it's a malacha shenshricha legufa. Lahaitz mimen alecha, that's also mutter. Hachi Iza v'perek Abeliezer the what if you didn't want to capture a snake, but you wanted to get it away from the area where it could pose a harm? Mutter, it's mutter l'chatchila. So too, when it comes to avodah zorah, you have these three categories. So let's go back into the Gemara and see what the three categories are. To do real kishiv is beskila. If you do only something that makes it look like you did kishiv, but you really did, pater avaloser. And mutar lechatchila is a good, interesting one because you're going to expect mutar lechatchila means a type of kishiv that's mutar lechatchila. But you're going to see it's not kishav at all. It's using shemus hakadoshim, and we had this just a couple of blot ago. Right? Their wife said, "Honey, could you go pick up some meat for the child?" And he said, "No problem." And she says, "Which butcher are you going to go to? That's none of your business. I'll get you the meat. Don't worry about it." And what did they do? Kol malei shapsa have a aski behilchas yitzira. They were Isaac and Sefer Yitzira. Umivri lahu igla tilsa. They created for themselves either a third grown egel or a third egel that was born to a mother. Either way, it's very high quality meat. V'achli, that's what they ate. So what do you mean that's mutter? It's a kilo like it would be usher and it's a heter, it's a mutter. Like it's how does it make sense? So the Sifter brings down, I think from the Ben Yoda, that this that they did, they wouldn't be allowed to do on a regular day. They only were allowed to do it to cover Shabbos, because even using shemus to build things is not appropriate. But to cover Shabbos, they were allowed to do it. So that's what.
Sorry for the nudnik question, Yossi, but was this had a din of fleishiks, or is it like ben pekua?
I'm not sure if I had enough fleishiks, but I know that we had in the Gemara when we learned this, someone wanted to know if butter comes from Shemaim, is it kosher? So he answered, anything that comes from Shemaim is kosher, right? And he said, what if it looks like a chamor? So he says, you idiot what you are. I told you already, if it comes from Shemaim, it's kosher. So I know it's kosher, and I know it's cholesterol free. I don't know if fleishiks or milchiks, but I'll bring you a raya that it's not fleishiks, that it's part. What's the raya? Because otherwise it would be Gan Eden for men, but not for women. Because women, if they're fleishiks, that they're always worried, oh, when am I going to be milchiks? They're always worried about when am I going to be milchiks. So they wouldn't have the Gan Eden of the meat. So it must be that basar b'shemaim is part as well. Otherwise it would be Gan Eden for the men, but Gan Eden for the women.
Was this a live ego that they created?
That's what it sounds like.
Well, then they'd have to shecht it, and that would be us.
Why is it also the shecht?
That's the din. No, that's why I said it was like ben pekua, that you didn't have to shecht it.
Oh, you're telling me you have to shecht it. I mean,
Right.
only basar that's normal meat.
But you have to kill it.
Yossi,
You're not allowed to
Lab
kill
grown
it.
meat. It's lab grown meat.
Yossi,
It's like
His wife
impossible.
said, "I'll take the lab grown meat, but don't you dare give me a lab grown diamond."
Yossi, remember I brought you about with the Yosef and his brothers,
Yes,
right? He was telling them they were eating Avim Minachai, and one of the portion down below said that no, they did the Sefer Yetzirah and they created these animals. They weren't really
Therefore, there's no chiv shchita. You mean?
right. Right.
Oh, okay, that's right. Meyer
Yeah.
quoted the art scroll. He brought down from somebody that there is no chiv shchita takas. So you're right, Akiva. There would be no chiv shchita for
Can I get a job as a magician?
that. Yeah, but you might get killed. Okay, Zok Gemara weiter. Amar Vashi, Chazina lei la'avua de Karna. I saw the father of Karna. Now Karna was a choshev amoira, so it's not likely that he would have done kishav. So let's see what he did. The nofitz, he would blow his nose, and sometimes a guy blows his nose and the whole city comes out, right? Vishadi krichi di shirayim and the suits and clothing were coming out of his nose. I'm not sure exactly how he did that, but the Mefarshim tell us that Karna's father would do kishiv. Rashi is machashiv, but there are other Mefarshim who learn that he was just teaching him halacha. He should know what kishiv is if he had to pass him. Zogt Gemara weiter. Vayomer hachatumin al pari. The chatumim told pari etzba elokimhi. Hashem is
Did
literally
he get
giving
to
us
keep the
the
suits though?
What's that?
He get to keep the suits.
If you don't mind snotty suits.
you, but
Being recorded. Yeah.
Okay. My son told me that Bochum from Yeshiva go and shop in a store in Lawrence Square that's called it's all used clothing there. I forgot what the name of the store is, but it's all used clothing. And they go there for Purim because you buy really cheap stuff. And the stuff that comes into that store, they don't even wash it. They literally just take it dirty and put it on the shelf. So yeah, it's like snotty clothing. Okay, Zok the Gemara fighter. So the next time a bacher comes drunk into your house on Purim wearing something unusual, don't touch him. You don't know where that clothing might have been. So Zok the Gemara, Yomer Chatum El Pari, Etzba Elokimi. The Rebbe Shem is literally giving us the finger over here. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Mikan, you see from here, She'ein Hashade Yochel Livrois Beria Pachas Mikasayra. This was talking about the kinim, and they were not able to duplicate kinim because a lice is smaller than a barley, so that they can't do. Rav Papa Amar, Kim, how you talking? What are you talking about? Afilu kegamel lemotzi bari. They can't even create a camel. How do they bring a camel? Hi michneflei, v'ala michneflei. They can't create a camel. But you know what they could do? They could Kishiv gather camels from far and wide to come to them. So it looks as if it appeared out of nowhere. But they might be able to get a camel to come from 100 miles away. But Kenim can't travel so far. So they couldn't even gather them together. So they couldn't pull this off. Amar le Rab le Reb Chia. L'didi Chazili, I once saw the following vision. Hahutaya, there was some type of Arab merchant. The Shaklelis of Syria, he took a sword, the Gaidi Lagamar, he literally sliced his camel into individual slices. The Tarif Lebetabla, and then he banged on a bell or a drum, depending on who you learn like, and the animal just bonded together and it was alive. Amr Le, so Rab Chia asked Rab, Levasar Hachi, after it became alive, was there blood and excrement on the floor? No, it was perfectly clean. If he actually sliced up the animal, there would have been blood all over the floor. There wasn't. So obviously the whole thing was just an optical illusion. Zeiri ikla l'Alexandria Shomatrayim. Zeiri went to Alexandria Shomatrayim, and we're assuming to see it was a place that was full of crooks, swindlers, and kishuf machers. And what did he buy there? Zav and Chamra. He bought a chamor and he didn't do a Carfax on it. You know what a Carfax is? He didn't do a Carfax on it. A Carfax is you could check with the serial number of a car. It'll tell you anytime it was in an accident and anytime there's a claim. It tells you it tells you everything that you need to know about the car. You do that to make sure it's a legitimate registration and it wasn't written off, because if it was written off by an insurance company, you won't be able to insure it. So he didn't get a Carfax on this chamor. So he bought a pickup truck and he didn't get a Carfax. Kimata laskuye maya, when he took it to get a drink, Pashar, dispel, zapped, become gamla this kanisa. It turned into a board. Now, it didn't turn into a board. It was always a board. The swindler made it into a chamor, sold it to him, and now he's stuck with a board. Now, vos is the choyach hamayim. So mayim chayim is from the source that will neutralize kishif. And the Mesivta brings down from somebody, we say, David Mizmar Lashem Or Shaloi Tel Vayshva, Kihu Al Yamim Yesada Al Nahar Shechanina. How do you know that when the Kadosh Baruch Hu built the world, it's real? It's not an optical illusion. It's not kishif, because Al Yamim Yesada, he built it on Mayim Chaim. Kishif can't have any kiyum with Mayim Chaim, so the world is real, but Mayim Chaim dissolves the kishif. So that's a very good. You don't need a Carfax. You just need to do a litmus test.
Car wash.
Dip it into Mayim Chaim, and you'll see. So
Was that in the Wizard of Oz? Didn't the witch melt? Because
that's what the water made the witch melt. That's right.
Yeah.
It was Mayim Chaim. That's right. You know, all these producers and these writers, I believe they're all Jewish, and I believe they have so many ideas from the Gemara. There are so many Gewaltige science fiction Gemaras that we've learned that for sure inspired many people's imaginations. So Dr. Gemara, Amrulay, the merchant told him, really, it's buyer beware. I shouldn't give you a penny back. He loves Zeiriyat. If it wasn't for the fact that you're the great Zeiri, lo have a madrinalach. I wouldn't refund your money because you're an idiot. Who in their world would come to a well-known swindler market where we're full of kishif and won't check it before they pay? You made a bad mistake, but you're Zeiri, so I'm going to refund. Zakt Gemara weiter. Yanai, and this is not Rav Yanai, because you're going to soon see he was a kishif macher. This is an awesome story. You know, there's a famous story that in the 50s, a mashulach came from Eretz Yisrael to America, and he was going to go visit a wealthy guy. He went with his son, and he was going to visit a wealthy guy in a Manhattan building. In Yerushalayim, in those days, they didn't have elevators. He didn't know what an elevator was. So he gets to the main lobby, and he sees a big fat woman get into an elevator, and the door's closed, and 2 minutes later the door opens, and a young, beautiful woman comes out. So he tells his son, "Wie the mama, schnell bring the mama." So let's have a look over here at what happened over here. Zakt Gemara, Yanai ikla lahu shpisa. Yanai showed up to a guest house, to a bed and breakfast. Amalahu, he told them, Ashken Maya, I need a drink. Krivi, they brought him shtisa drink. But Chaza, the Kamar Cheshan Sifsvasa, he saw that the woman who was serving him was mumbling something, meaning she was probably putting some kishuf here. So he was afraid to drink the water because he didn't know what type of spell was in the water. So what he did is he made it look like he was drinking, so they shouldn't chap, and he spilled a little bit of the water on the floor. Shada portamine, have akravi, it turned into scorpions. So he realized that she wanted him to swallow scorpions. So Amalu, he told her, since I drank your water, I also have a drink I want to share with you. Atunami shesumididi. And he made kishav also, because he was a kishav macher as well. So what did he do? Ashkai, he gave her to drink. Have a chamra. Boom, she turned into a chamor, similar to the elevator story. She was a woman and she turned into a chamor. So you know what he did? Rochva, he got on her and he started to take her for a ride. Salak l'shuka, he took her out to the shuk with his chamor, and then Asachaver, to her friend, saw that she was a little bit in trouble. She said, "You look so beautiful. What happened to you? Who's your makeup artist? You look much better than you looked before." And what happened was Pashrula, she dissolved the spell, and then suddenly he's sitting riding a woman in the middle of a market. No comment. Zok Gemara weiter. Vatal Tzvardeya. The Tzvardeya came. That's the end of the story. Yeah. Vatal Tzvardeya. The Tzvardeya came. Vatachas. I mean, it must have been fascinating to go be in the shuk those days. You never know what you're going to find, right? Vatal Tzvardeya. The Tzvardeya came to Mitzrayim. Vatachas as Eretz Mitzrayim. Omar Belozar. Tzvardeya achas hoisa. It was one big frog. His shritza. It Yiddish is a kedvidment. It swarmed. Umala kol eretz Mitzrayim, and it filled all of Mitzrayim. Ketanoi, this is a machlokes tanoim. Rabbi Kiva Omer tzvardei achasaya umala kol eretz Mitzrayim. Amar lai Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah told Rabbi Kiva, "Vus mishti zecharan in milsa dagata. You're a lamdin. You're into the goyim and oilites. Akiva ma loch eitzel agada. Kalam dabrisecha. Stop your droshes." It's Tzvardeya. Yeah, it was a singular. It says Talat Tzvardeya. Yeah. When he brought, I'm not sure when, by a warning, I don't know what it says, but by the actual makkah. So, Kalim Dabrisecha, stop your droshes v'leich etzel negoyim v'oilis. Tzvardeya achasois. It was one frog, but it wasn't a dog whistle. It was a frog whistle. Sharka lahem. It went. Get over here, friends! And all of his friends, Vehembo, and all the frogs came and invaded Mitzrayim. Yeah. Okay, Gavaltik. So I guess we could stop here, and Bez Hashem, we will be mamshech. So these are very fascinating and interesting Gemaras.
Good vach, good vach. Thank you.
Good one, good one.
Gitvach.
So Lamaisa, can I be a magician? Wait a second.
I know Harry Potter has an academy for it.